Same people in the mortgage bailout. MDC Holdings, MDC Asset Investors buys up mortgages all across the country. Buys up about 20% of all the mortgages originated. What they did is they kept several sets of books, 9 of them to be exact. So, Tom, you made a loan. You made a loan on a house. The mortgage banker sold the mortgage to MDC Asset Investors. MDC Asset Investors peddled the mortgage to Wall Street in bundles of $2 to $5 billion at a time, sometimes $200 million. That was the first bundle. There went your mortgage. It was sold to, say, Citicorp. Then the next time they bundled up a sale of mortgages the next month as they were putting them out, they had a second mortgage, Tom, on your house, an artificial mortgage that they kept a separate set of books on that they just peddled to the Chinese government. Then they peddled another mortgage, duplicated the same mortgage on your house again and again and again, 9 times over. And they were sitting there paying the mortgages on your house until the big Ponzi game came to a head, which was the bailout to hide it. So they made 9 mortgages. They collected 9 times $500,000 on your mortgage. Now, there's people reporting down in Florida and other parts of the country that suddenly they're trying to work with their lenders in the past 4 and 5 and 6 months, and they're saying they don't know which lender they've got on the house because they haven't paid a payment. And it triggered the mortgage, and it triggered the deed, and it triggered all the paperwork on the repo. And all of a sudden they got 5 and 6 mortgage holders, banks, coming in there telling them they hold the mortgage on the house, which they don't. These were the artificial mortgages. Most of those mortgages, for those of you listening, are parked where, Tom? Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch, with Bank of America controlling Merrill Lynch. That's where they're sitting at right now, folks. Trillions of dollars with the artificial mortgages. And the Chinese government got stuck with a tremendous amount of these, but they're still trying to figure out what they're holding. Worthless paper, all because of MDC Asset Investors, where all you fraudsters worked out of during the 1980s and 1990s. Every major scandal, the current bailout, goes back to the Clintons and the Chinese connection, go back to Israelis and selling Rocky Flats nuclear material to the Chinese, not only the Chinese, but the Koreans and others, which I just touched on. To go back to the 1990s with Apex Aviation and George Herbert Walker Bush and 38 countries becoming capable of making a nuclear weapon because of that missing 2,000 pounds of plutonium. These are the same people that robbed HUD, the same ones that did Denver International Airport scandal, have been money laundering. The Israeli Mossad folks, they're the ones that we have the problem with, and they're located in Denver, Colorado. Am I correct, Tom?
Right, Phil. What you have just done very brilliantly, and I think right to the point, is explain to people how all this creative finance, criminal fraud got started. And folks, if you listen to it carefully, what you know now is this set the stage for what we eventually became aware of with the bailout of Bear Stearns and then Merrill Lynch by Bank of America. Folks, they were taking your tax money and giving it to a bunch of fraudsters who had looted the United States of America. It's that simple. And you don't have to be a brain. You will not hear this in the American media. You will not hear this in the corporate-controlled, as I call it, corporate-controlled, fascist, extortion-friendly U.S. media, because they're all blackmailed. Getting $5 million a year to sit on the TV and talk about what? Sarah Palin? What do you think of Sarah Palin's politics? The reason I don't like Sarah Palin is because she's not a lesbian. And you will see a cover-up. Now they're covering up a second round of this crap. They are enablers of treason. I can only say it that simply. They're enablers of treason against the American people. And it's important to note, folks, that this Robert Rubin got the whole thing started with Alan Greenspan. They pushed a lot of this crap through in '98,
The Citicorp.
When Clinton was being impeached for alleged sex, well, they should have had him and Bush and Kenneth Starr all arrested at once. And what happened then in the year 2000 election, Bush advocated taking these derivatives from 5-to-1 to 20-to-1. Now you see why the extortion-friendly American media enabled Bush's theft of the year 2000 election because of the money. Am I right or wrong, Stu?
You're right.
Criminal fraud. Now, John Adams says facts are stubborn things. That's right, folks. Tonight we bring you facts, and they remain stubborn things. And you can just live in a world of delusion, or you can live in a world of reality.
Now let's talk about some of that, Tom. You were reporting here 3 weeks. It's been almost 4 weeks ago. You were reporting on the two journalists, and you made massive reports on this. And it tied in a lot of things to the Clintons and what the Clintons were doing. And it brought so much exposure. Today, we have two journalists that were freed as a result of what you put up on the Internet 3 to 4 weeks ago.
That's correct. And they were freed because Hillary Rodham Harris Clinton, when she found out through her State Department stooges, Melanie Bernier, who's a friend, by the way, of a wanted terrorist in Europe, Eva Teleke, linked to the 7/7 London bombings.
Hillary's right-hand goon.
Right. Let's just say this. The pressure got overwhelming. She didn't want Al Gore to have anything to do with the negotiations. Why? Because, and one of the reasons North Korea wanted Al Gore over there is because Al Gore is not part of this corruption with the trading platforms. Al Gore opposed a lot of this stuff. Now, I'm not people say, "Oh, you're a stooge for Al Gore." Well, I'm a stooge for the truth. That's the truth. You like it or not, live with it. That's what I say to people.
The truth is we've had 3 coups d'etats: Kennedy, Carter, and Al Gore.
Bush is not a man of God, was never a man of God. He was never a man of the Lord. He's a closet homosexual who spent years with Victor Ashe as his lifelong lover.
And the
former ambassador. Pardon?
Yeah, and the first time in history have we ever had that aligned exactly with Adolf Hitler and his German government, a time Bush Jr., the very first time ever elected by the Supreme Court of the United States in the same way Adolf Hitler was elected. The Constitution is specific, folks, if you get in and read it. Only the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate make the decision when there's a tie and a runoff on a presidential election.
Well, first of all, Stu, to touch on that real quickly, the state of Florida was totally stolen. 30,000 voters were not allowed to vote that day because they were removed from the voter rolls by a choice point software electronic system that was put into effect by Jeb Bush with his handlers, Mel Sembler, a Mossad agent. The software was tested in Great Britain with the acquiescence of the little doom-laying pedophile Tony Blair, who, as you can see, became a great friend of Bush immediately. And basically, people went to vote and were told you're not eligible anymore. You're a convicted felon. None of them were convicted felons. 80% of them got letters a week later apologizing for the electronic snafu. Now, that's just Florida. Then we got what we call the Nassau script, which was basically the corruption of the Voters News Service. Voters News Services reports to a main computer in Atlanta tied to the CNN network. A lot of the electronic results that were forwarded through the Voters News Services from West Virginia, Missouri, New Hampshire, and Tennessee, there was a malfunction at 8 o'clock Central Time that night. I can tell you for a fact that at least 30,000 votes disappeared out of Tennessee that were Gore votes. 30,000 folks. Bush never carried Gore's home state. He stole it. At least 40,000 people were wandering the streets of St. Louis, Missouri, not knowing where to vote. You remember that, Stu?
Yes, I remember it.
Bush carried Missouri by what, 5,000 votes? Well, if those 40,000 people can vote, he doesn't carry it, does he? You see, folks, that was a coup d'etat. That election was not even close. It's a miracle